players and the decks. It's time for round number 15. Hey, what do you say we put some more people in our top 8, Monty?
I would love to see 4 more people in this top 8.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to send it on over to the booth right now with round 15.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Welcome back to the booth. We're well and truly down the stretch now. We've got win-and-ins across the board. We're going to be filling up those top 8 seats this round and next to see who makes it in, who doesn't quite make it in. That happens sometimes. But these players have that safety net in their hands that these are all win-and-ins.
Yeah, and it's pretty wild because we have a much bigger field tournament. We get 4 win-and-ins in the second to last round.
Crazy.
That's just something that you don't see that often here. And here we have kind of a matchup with, Kenta Harane, very, very established pro, always puts together good finishes at these pro tours. And then Vinícius just kind of living the dream here. Last minute flight, winning the whole thing, and now putting himself in position to potentially top 8 this event and qualify for the World Championship.
I mean, that's one of those decisions that you make that could change everything, right? Where you're like, I'm going to get on the flight. I'm just going to go.
Happens.
I'm just going to go. And now you find yourself playing for top 8 against Kenta Harane.
Table Alpha starting game 1.
Not sure how many cards Vinícius is on here. Is that a mold of 5?
I think it was 5. I believe I saw 2 go down below, but that is going to make things difficult.
That is brutal. You need to have a really nice aggressive start here. Going first here, but this Jeskai Oculus deck, just a really nice, interesting spin on something that we've seen historically, which was kind of the Azorius Oculus deck. There's a lot more interaction, and this deck can attack you at this deck can attack you without doing the Reanimator thing, right? That is the kind of the way you can get free wins. Your opponent casts a Hopeless Nightmare, you cast a Recommission or a Helping Hand to get Oculus back, but it can very easily also just win by playing kind of a Jeskai Tempo style deck.
Kenta draws his card for the turn.
As a
big sigh.
Yeah, a lot of options. Tons of options here. You have Bitter Reunion here. Nothing great to discard, but maybe you're just interested in digging for more things. Or do you want to just keep your life total high? Do you just fire off a Torch to Tower, for example, on the Otter? If you do you want to just do it now, just to make sure it doesn't get too big? It looks like he is very interested here in dealing with the Otter. Now remember, he does have the bounce off too, so if somehow Vinícius plays too many spells here to get this out of reach, actually just firing off the bounce off, not having to worry about potential spells to trigger enough prowess to keep it alive.
Yep.
All right, Scavenger is the follow-up with 2 mana up for Karam.
And if he fires off this Torch to Tower here, Vinícius will run out. This town ain't big enough and save the Scavenger here and pick up the Storm Chaser's Talent. So that's going to be a really nice turn.
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Kenta does get a turn to kind of do whatever here.
Yeah, looking for an Oculus here if possible. Put that in the graveyard. Does have a Recommission in hand.
So Steam Core Scholar. And I put a creature with flying. A Siren goes into hand. That does mean that Kenta's up a card there.
But here we're going to see Vinícius go Scavenger into the Storm Chaser's Talent. Put a couple of permanents into play. Get that nice +1/+1 kind of. Ooh, Hopeless Nightmare as well.
Hey, when you're on 5, this is a pretty good start here for Karam.
And also, you're not as scared because Kenta cast the Steam Core Scholar. If he had an Oculus, he would have discarded it already.
Right.
Taking a look at Kenta's hand, you do have to be mindful of all the spell types here. Fear of missing out. Caring about Delirium here. We already have Enchantment, Instant, and Creature in the graveyard here.
Yeah, that Bitter Reunion was discarded. He's got another in hand, however.
Some interesting options here. You do have an Inti here as well if you wanted to grow your creature, but no more interaction for Kenta Harane. Is it just another Steam Core Scholar, possibly?
It is.
All right.
Draw 2. And And you discard 2 unless it's an instant sorcery or creature with flying.
Yeah, might just
I can
discard,
think of one.
right? There's a pair of inties, could consider doing that. Do like a Seachrome Coast plus an intie maybe? Just a recommission.
Oh, it's
Okay.
instant sorcery or creature flying, right?
That's right.
17.
Steam Core Scholar, for some reason, has Vigilance.
Yeah, why not? You gotta just push it a little bit.
Get in there for 2. Before passing the turn back over. Destroy Evil and Kaito in hand now.
Now, Destroy Evil not really doing anything on this board, although it's a nice out, just keeping them that mana up, which does allow you to have an answer to a potential Oculus if Kenta finds one and puts it into the graveyard and tries to reanimate it. But right now, if you look at Kenta's hand, it's kind of just, hey, I'm just going to try to beat you down with my flyers here. I've got an intie that I can run out next turn as well, right? And just start trying to race you with my flyers. But no interaction could make things very, very interesting, especially because Vinícius does have Kaito that he can potentially ninjutsu in if, for example, the Optimistic Scavenger doesn't get blocked. Kind of awkward here, though, because Kenta can possibly just double block. If Vinícius attacks with both, can single block both, and actually just doing nothing here.
Just a brick wall.
Yeah.
All right, back over to Kenta. Look, this beat down in the air plant starts to look a little better when
Yeah.
that's Karam's turn there.
Yeah, and Spell Pierce very good with Vinícius down to just stuck on 3 lands here. So if you can keep up that blue mana, you can shut down a lot of potential good draws here from Vinícius. For example, this town ain't big enough. Would basically be countered here with that Spell Pierce.
Okay, down to 13 falls Vinícius. Second main.
Is that going for Bitter Reunion here, possibly? No, a post-combat intie.
Usually you do that pre-combat.
Yeah,
but,
that is interesting. It's maybe just Kenta just maybe not interested in discarding anything right now anyways, because you would be down a card if you can't play the card that you reveal off the top. I will say this is not quite how I envisioned Kenta's deck would play out.
This is not plan A.
Yeah, but this is plan B and it's still effective. Yeah, and a Hopeless Nightmare here being surveilled. That's always a bad sign. That's the kind of the last thing you want to be doing here. Spiteful Hexmage, okay draw. It's nice that you do get a +1/+1 trigger here from the Optimistic Scavenger. And now the Scavenger is looking like a pretty nice attack because you get in with a 4/4. What's Kenta going to do? Double block?
No.
Right? That's going to be pretty tough. I think he would just take the 4 damage there.
Yeah, if Kenta thought that he could trade off the intie, that would be fine. He's got a backup intie in hand, but I don't think he wants to lose one of the flyers.
Now, yeah, and again, Destroy Evil, just the one of Destroy Evil not doing a whole lot here. You could potentially kill, I guess, your cursed roll token, right? That would, you know, trigger a, you would get a prowess trigger, but that's not especially strong. Yeah, but I do like this attack for 4. Try to get some damage in.
Kenta says, sure.
Totally fine.
Yep.
Down to 13, and Vinícius passes the turn back.
Now remember, Inti triggers off of any discard, so
Yes.
now you can run out the Bitter Reunion and get some extra value here.
Start getting some counters going. Ooh, Torch the Tower.
Oh, excellent draw here from Kenta. Probably still going to run out the Bitter Reunion, try to find some action. What are we discarding? Probably the second Inti.
That's right.
Then you can exile the top card. Okay. Free land here to cast. Wow, that's a Prof's Eidetic Memory. We've drawn 2 cards already, so you run this out now. That is 3 +1/+1 counters.
Oh, Vinícius is like, oh no.
Oh, wow. That is a lot of damage. I mean, we can just have a 5/5 flying attacker with vigilance.
Begin combat.
Yep.
That's going to be very difficult.
3 counters? Yes.
Now, Vinícius does have Destroy Evil, right? So you do get to use the Destroy Evil here to try and kill the 5/5 Scholar, but Kenta has Spell Pierce to counter the Destroy Evil here.
Jeez. Finally, a target appears for Destroy Evil, and it's going to be
It just gets countered.
countered anyway.
Yeah, and this is just a 2-turn clock here for Kenta Harane.
No trigger? Yes.
No discard. And Vinícius
That's
has no
just
choice.
more bad news.
He has no choice.
No.
And Spell Pierce, yep.
7 points.
So you take 7 down to 4.
And it's pretty tough.
There's
If you're
some
the Esper
lethal
Pixie
threats
deck-
going
right.
now. Yeah.
If you're the Esper Pixie deck, this is just a little bit too much. Even if you get the 5/5 off the battlefield,
Right.
the 2/2 is likely just going to be able to close it out here.
Vinícius just didn't really have enough tools to fight. Even, you know, more of a plan B type game there from Harane. And it's worth noting that Vinícius was on
5.
5.
Sorry.
So that is tough.
Yeah. Much better hand here for Vinícius. No white source, but you do have Spiteful Hexmage plus Fear of Isolation. This is an aggressive start because what you can do is turn 2, play Fear of Isolation, bounce the Curse Roll token, and just get in for 3 if you want. And if you're on Kenta's side, you have Fear of Missing Out, turn 2 as the play, and then you have a Destroy Evil for something later down the line. Yeah, beat downs.
Nice.
Go ahead.
And this is the type of hand that Vinícius certainly wants. We'll note also after sideboard, very, very likely that Vinícius bringing in the 3 copies of Rest in Peace out of the sideboard just to kind of shut down the graveyard aspect of it. But Kenta has a really nice sideboard plan because he knows Rest in Peace is a card, bringing in multiple copies of Chandra Spark Hunter, a new card.
Very nice.
Coming in.
And Fear of Missing Out here helps too.
Right, which really helps with kind of the graveyard angle of attack that Vinícius will have after sideboard.
Take 1.
Oh, but Kaito
So with 19, you go
shows
14.
up, and this is a really
Side.
difficult permanent to deal with.
Yeah, every time we've seen 2 small attackers, it's like Kaito's on the way.
Kaito's coming in.
All 0.
And it just gives you such a nice advantage.
Now look at Kenta's hand. Kenta doesn't have any answer for it right now.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a big problem.
Okay.
Kenta can see a lot of cards, right? That's what this deck does. But it takes time, it takes mana.
Yeah.
You don't want to let a Kaito run away with things.
They draw Fear of Missing Out, probably running that out here just to have a creature in play that can potentially threaten to take some loyalty off of Kaito.
That is a steep hill to climb.
And given that the Fear of Missing Out's in the graveyard, there are 3 types already in the yard in land, enchantment, and creature. So if Kenta can find a target for the Destroy Evil, that would give, oh, never mind, 2 good attackers here. Enchantment in the graveyard here. So just 1 spell needed here, 1 instant rather. His Helping Hand is a sorcery. So if Kenta can find a target for the Destroy Evil, then that is 2 Fear of Missing Out triggers from Kenta's side of the battlefield.
Yeah, that can add up pretty quickly, but boy, you gotta like Vinícius' spot here. This is the 2nd attack and activation from Kaito now.
Kaito's so strong here, and Vinícius also has Destroy Evil. That is a removal spell for one of the Fear of Missing Outs, if he wants.
Kinda gonna need to-
And, oh, there's a Rest in Peace, which turns off the Delirium aspect.
Yeah, that makes
from
those a
Kenta's
lot
side.
worse, yeah.
It's a really interesting turn here for Vinícius. You have Destroy Evil as a way to kill one of the Fear of Missing Outs. You could consider going Destroy Evil plus Rest in Peace this turn, although, yeah, there's a Caves of Koilos in Vinícius' hand. That would only leave Kenta with 1 Fear of Missing Out.
A 2-powered creature.
Right, which would get Kaito down to 2, and then I guess you could be a little bit concerned about towards the tower. Now, we know, however, that Kenta's got Chandra Spark Hunter in hand. So if Vinícius' plan is rest in peace plus destroy evil your creature, you just go Chandra, make a vehicle, and then crew it right away and attack.
Yeah, and then that will get Kaito off the board finally. Chandra Spark Hunter, quite powerful.
Yeah, we haven't seen it a ton, but it is extremely, extremely powerful card. And it just has so much loyalty, too.
Yeah, comes in at 4. It's also relatively easy to cast at 3 in a red.
Right? Very splashable, too.
Right. Let's see if Vinícius wants to take the line that you described, Paul.
Doesn't really have too much to play around the Chandra here. Okay, playing a creature here. The Fear of Isolation does do a good job of just straight up blocking.
Yes.
But now if you're on Kenta's side, you do have a nice target for Destroy Evil, which will
That's
give you
true.
Delirium. So if you use Destroy Evil on Fear of Isolation, even if Vinícius has one removal spell for Fear Missing Out, one of the Fear Missing Outs will attack twice.
Yes.
That's a dead Kaito.
Whoa.
But it is also tempting to just run out Chandra, just in terms of mana efficiency too. But you will not have Delirium then.
It really depends on Kenta's side how much he prioritizes, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but having such a good chance of getting Kaito off the board.
Right.
Oh, and look at this.
Yep.
He's going to take advantage.
That's a dead Kaito here.
Make hay while the sun is shining. And look at Vinícius. He's putting together what's about to happen. And it says, I just lost my Kaito somehow?
Sure did.
Because one of these can die,
Yeah, just from combat.
target each other.
The thing is, regardless of what Vinícius chose to do there, I think he was going to lose the Kaito regardless. Because if Vinícius goes rest in peace into Destroy Evil, Kenta then just plays Chandra and can attack the Kaito down for 5.
Okay.
On that, and Vinícius just lost his biggest edge, which was the Kaito
Huge.
here. Very flooded here as well.
To the point that Rest in Peace is so much less effective now.
Yeah, especially because Kenta has the Chandra Spark Hunter in hand.
Exactly. And that is Rest in Peace, by the way, hitting the battlefield. So graveyards are going to get exiled, and anything that would go there will also get exiled.
I wonder if Kenta's going to consider playing around Spell Pierce, if that's something that Vinícius has.
I'm curious. No, it looks like not Spell Pierce available.
No Spell Pierce, so yeah, no fear, just run it out. Big attack here for 5. Make a vehicle, give it haste, it automatically gets crewed. And what an awesome alternate win condition here for the Jeskai
This
Oculus
card
deck.
does not care about Rest in Peace. This is exactly what Vinícius did not want to see happen here. The last 2 turns, he lost Kaito and now has a really annoying threat that doesn't care about the sideboard plan particularly. This is tough sequence there.
Yeah, this is brutal here for Vinícius. And now Kenta can attack again for 5. Also tick it up to Rummage. Get the lands out of the hand. Probably don't care too much about the land there. Getting close to embleming the Chandra too, potentially. Bitter Reunion. If you draw another creature here, you can potentially give that haste. Oculus will not do so much.
No, and a Spell Pierce.
Right.
All right, so the Rest in Peace doing something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in the meantime, life totals are dropping quickly from Vinícius' side, down to 9.
But I will say, though, Rest in Peace is very effective, but not the end-all, be-all, because of the build of Jeskai Oculus. Azorius Oculus kind of folds to Rest in Peace, but not the Jeskai variant. You have a lot more creatures in your deck. You can just win by playing Fair Magic.
I mean, these are all sideboard things that we've seen here, right? The Fear of Missing Outs and the Chandra that are just dominating this game.
Right. Well, I believe Fear Missing Out might be in the main.
Is it in the main?
It's in the main, but the Chandra was definitely a card that came in out of the sideboard.
Okay, just the Chandra. Gotcha. There's a Scavenger now for Vinícius.
But it just doesn't really do anything here. It's such a small creature, it doesn't really matter too much. And then if you get Chandra up to 8, you can emblem on the following turn, and then anytime an artifact comes into play, you can just deal 3 damage to something. It's just so hard and just
so tough. And look at all the lands.
Oh.
Like, this deck is not used to having 6 lands on the battlefield with 3 more to go in hand. Ouch. Kenta moving closer to a top 8. Kenta already has 1 top finish, and he'd love to pick up another one right here. Last chance, too, for the guaranteed.
For the guarantee, of course.
If you lose here but win next round, that'll put you in a tiebreaker fight.
Yeah, and with
where it's not really in your hands anymore.
Right, and with the number of players in this tournament, I do not want to be in that spot. This is the one you have to win. Brotherhood's End. It's a nice little sweeper effect. Although this would be worse here for Kenta.
Kenta plays 3 copies of Chandra Spark Hunter
Out of the board?
Yeah, you can see why.
Yeah, it's an excellent card. A lot of people will play some number of graveyard hate cards out of the sideboard just to make sure that these Oculus decks keep them honest, right? There's a couple of graveyard decks too. There's the Oculus deck and there's also the Omniscience deck that we've seen previously. So it is important to have something in your sideboard for this type of matchup. But of course, on the flip side, it's important to have a plan when your opponents do have Ghost Vacuum or Rest in Peace.
No good blocks here for Vinícius, so he's going to fall down to just 4 life. And once again, Kenta's just going to pass. Is there anything that Vinícius can find? No, there's not. Kenta Harane has made the top 8, taking that 3rd seat. And a 2nd top finish there for Kenta. Super impressive stuff. Kenta's the kind of player who's like always around and always near the top tables. And when you see a top 8 finish here, you're not that surprised.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about that deck too, and just how impressive it looked just in terms of, you know, when a lot of people think about the Oculus stick, it's just kind of all about getting the Oculus into play. And he just won both games, didn't need the Oculus, and was just able to find lines. And that's what makes this deck so strong. Typically, historically speaking, the really good combo decks are the ones that have 2 modes of attack. Not just all in on one strategy, but hey, look, if this doesn't go well, I can still win the game another way. And they kind of found the right shell for that. And there you go, another win and the first member of Team Moriyama into the top 8 of the Pro Tour.
That's right. Really great stuff there from Kenta Harane. Picking up that. We also have, by the way, all the rest of the matches here. They're winning ins for top 8 as well. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will have Yuchen Liu versus Lucas Duchow. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Ether Drift. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. And we're handing out top 8 slots. We still got another round to go after this. This is not the last round, but it kind of feels like it because we have 4 win-ins. We just gave a seat to Kenta Harane, and now we're going to be bouncing around from table to table as we fill out those seats. There's still more to give, of course, in the last round. There'll be 2 more, but we just saw Kenta Harane take his seat, and now we're going to go to Lucas Duchow versus Yuchen. This is kind of interesting. Gruel Mice versus Gruel Leyline. And we're going to see game 3, so don't go grab a drink right now.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. I think a few months ago, there was always the question, which version of Gruel is superior? And I think with the rise in popularity of the Esper Pixie decks, I think a lot of people have been favoring the Gruel Mice decks just because they can kind of grind into the late game a little bit better. But Lucas still playing the old version here and still doing extremely well.
Yeah, both of these players are top tier.
Absolutely.
Top tables at the Pro Tour level players. And it looks like 7 cards each, but Lucas on the play here, Paul. That's going to be huge for him.
On the play, but no ley line. So just going to have a good old-fashioned Gruel aggro mirror here. Now, Yuchen had an amazing start today, 3-0ing his pod, and was 11-1. He's now lost back-to-back win-ins. This would be the 3rd one if he doesn't get there, and that would be heartbreaking.
This is his last chance for guaranteed.
Yes.
That said, if he were to lose here, his tiebreaker would probably be pretty good.
That is true.
But he would also have to win the last round.
Still needs to win a match, yeah.
Yeah, if he loses here, this is where you kind of go splash a little water in your face, look in the mirror and say, okay, don't let the wheels fall off here.
Yeah, even the turn 1 play, Lu Yuchen just thinking very, very deeply there, had a torch to tower in hand, wondering, should I just fire that off on the Monastery Swift Spear, or do I want to employ my game plan and play a creature on turn 1 instead? Because it would have been really bad if Lucas played something like an Innkeeper's Talent, but I'm not even sure if this version, going to have to take a look here to see if this version even plays Innkeeper's Talent. I don't think that it does.
Heartfire Heroes, the follow-up play here for Lucas after getting in for just the 1 damage. Lu's down to 18, but has a second land. He's got Higher Claw. He looks like he wants to attack. That makes sense.
It's 2 damage here.
So 18 apiece. He's got his own Heartfire Hero. Where have I seen this story before?
Yeah, has a pair of Monstrous Rages in hand, but kind of tough to just run that out when your opponent just has open red mana. We're talking about a deck that has access to, you know, multiple copies of Burst Lightning out of the sideboard. It's going to be tougher. Now, Lucas Duchow's list, because it is the Leyline version, actually does have less interaction. 2 copies of Burst Lightning in the sideboard, but not too much beyond that, actually. Oh, Snakeskin
Is that Snakeskin
Veil? Wow.
Oh.
So Torch to Tower does not resolve here, and this is a lot of damage. 2 prowess triggers as well here.
That was
from Monastery Swift Spear.
Right, that was Might of the Meek to draw out a burn spell, which is exactly what it did.
Into Snakeskin Veil, and the Snakeskin Veil is the type of card that used to be extremely strong, but again, with the rise in popularity of Nowhere to Run, all the Esper Pixie decks playing 4 copies of it, it's kind of fallen out of favor. But if you're playing the Gruel Leyline deck, it is very important, and specifically in this matchup, very, very strong.
Hero growing larger here as well. Also 2 triggers, down to 10 is Lu Yuchen. Is this falling apart for him?
You have some monstrous rages here. Do you just try to race? Maybe keep a creature back? Hope Lucas isn't playing something like a doesn't have something like a Callous Sellsword in hand to just get a bunch of damage in with the Heartfire Hero and then just sacrifice it for the win?
Yuchen's doing math. Oh, that's a lot of counting. Like, that's not counting to 5, you know?
Yeah, but Lucas is at 18. There's just no combination here.
There's probably counting on what can I get you down to, and then is it possible I die on the next turn?
Right. It's just like, what can you have? And Lucas is that can have a lot in this spot. Remember, Lucas didn't play land number 3 here.
That's true. So
right? So
all
just
spells,
all spells.
which is a good thing in some ways, but you know, if you can't deploy them in time, still, what's the average casting cost on this deck? Like
Everything just costs
1.2 or something.
Yeah. The only hope for Liu Yuchen is just maybe he just drew all of his Leyland of Resonances, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the hope.
Cold peeled them.
Right.
See, 4 cards in hand here for.
Oh, God, and he has a Karplusan Forest here, it looks like. So
Yes,
even if he fires off that Monstrous Rage, that 1 point can be super relevant here.
Emberheart Challenger hits the battlefield. It has haste and prowess. This is an opportunity to get a big chunk of damage in, but it will be very unforgiving, this race situation that Liu Yuchen is entering in. I just don't know that he has much of a choice.
Yeah, and
Monstrous Rage.
on the Heartfire
He's a
hero
9.
here, Prowess Trigger
18-9.
as well.
A prowess trigger on the side. Oh, is he going to live the higher claw back?
This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. Lucas is at 10, but Lucas could just have lethal here.
Lucas draws his card for the turn, trying to work his way into another top 8 here.
Is this enough?
Both players with an 11-3 record. Oh no, now Lucas is doing math.
Yeah, well, this is way scarier when your opponent's at 9 and tapped out.
And you're tapped out than when you're at 18.
Oh,
Uh-oh,
gosh.
both creatures coming in. Does Lucas have it?
And Yuchen has to block.
He left it back for that express reason, I assume.
He's just going, I hope you don't have Monstrous Rage. That's
Right.
kind of the hope. It's like, I probably just need to block this Heartfire hero, and I just hope you don't have Monstrous Rage to kind of trample over for the win.
Boy, this is a good old-fashioned damage race here. They have been attacking.
Because if Lucas just has 2 +3 power spells here, he just wins the game. Because the unblocked creature, that's 2 prowess triggers off the Monastery. Swift Spear, +3 damage from something like a Turn Inside Out and a Monstrous Rage. That's just 9 damage right there.
By the way, the difference between 10 and 9.
So
You mentioned it, but he
Absolutely.
just didn't have a choice.
Right.
Karplusan Forest does hurt. This is about as close as they possibly get.
Because if Lucas is unable to kill Yuchen Liu here, then
Well, then he's opened up the door.
absolutely.
Block.
And
Yep.
that is possible here, because what is Lucas supposed to do? Go? Like, I'm going to block or something?
Math time.
This looks like he's double checking his math.
Yeah, well, this is for the top 8 here, so just got to make sure. Okay, +1/+0, trample, and draw a card.
But we're in the middle of combat. He only has the 1 mana left over.
Oh, he's tapping something.
Turn
Yeah.
inside out. Your creature? Is that enough for lethal?
Take 3 trample, 3 here, 5 here.
He grew the higher claw so that his creature would die after this is over. He's going to take 6.
That
And then the
looks-
hero dies and it has 5 power.
that looks like 11 damage here.
And that's upstairs.
Wow, just off the 2 lands here.
Liu Yuchen double checking the math to make sure it all works out.
There's nothing else he can do. They just have to just make sure this works.
And that's going to be game.
Oh.
Lucas Duchow picks up another top 8 slot. And he just put Liu Yuchen in a very, very difficult position. He had 2 win-and-ins, lost one now, and he's got to do another one next round. And
Yeah.
and it's not a win-and-in. Like,
No, and I mean, imagine starting out this tournament. You are 11-1.
oh,
You have 4 rounds to play. All you need is 1 win. All you need is 1 win. You have a great deck, and you've now lost 3 straight win-and-ins. Now, his tiebreakers are going to be look to be pretty good, but there's still a shot. Even if he wins the next round, he might not make it. So this is a really, really tough spot here. And that turn one, excuse me, not the turn 1 play, but one of the pivotal turns there was the Torch the Tower. Firing off that Torch the Tower, Lucas casting the spell. It's like, hey, do you want to use your Torch the Tower here? Do you want to use it? Oh, get you with the Snakeskin Veil. That was the match-winning play there for Lucas Duchow.
definitely. Picks up that top 8. Lucas can take the rest of the day off. But boy, I am really curious to see how it goes for Liu Yuchen, because the wheels are coming off and he's got one more chance to redeem it. We've got another winning in for you, by the way. We've got Christopher Leonard versus Etienne Eggenschwiler, and as you can see, they both have the same record that those competitors had. They're 11-3, and they're in the exact same position. A win puts them cleanly into the top 8, and a loss puts them into a precarious situation for the last round of play here.
Classic matchup here, right? We have our Domain Overlords deck going up against the Esper Pixie deck. Some will say that the Domain deck has a small edge in the matchup here, and it looks like Etienne here on the mulligan.
Etienne's going to put a card on the bottom of their library.
Oh, and Christopher's on the play here.
This is a game 3, by the way.
Both players at 6.
Both on 6, okay. Two completely different approaches to the format. One of them is using a bunch of 1 mana and sometimes 2 mana cards, recurring them over and over and over again. The other one is taking a very different approach, trying to enable huge creatures.
Just an attack for 1 and nothing on turn 2.
Okay.
It's got to be a great sign here if you're rooting for Christopher Leonard. Cavern of Souls, presumably naming Avatar here. Or Horror. Huntwoods? Oh, take a look at his hand, by the way. He's got an Obstinate Baloth in hand. So
interesting.
So if there is a Hopeless Nightmare or possibly a Momentum Breaker.
There is a Dreams of Steel and Oil I saw in Etienne's hand, but they didn't cast it. And it's interesting because you have to choose an artifact or creature. There it is. If it's the only choice.
It does exile, though.
So it doesn't matter anyway.
Right. Well, hit.
How do you have that card in your deck? You get hit with a hand disruption spell and it still doesn't work.
C'est en fait si tu le défaussais. Mais ça le défausse pas sur l'exil. Ça l'exile. Ouais.
Exile. Did you hear that? Oh, it gets exiled? Yes, it does.
That is a nice way to have a hand disruption spell that doesn't
I'm so disappointed, though.
Yeah, this was the wish list. This is what everybody wanted to see. And now he can run out the Hopeless Nightmare. Really great piece of tech here, having Dreams of Steel and Oil as a hand disruption spell, as a proactive answer to people packing cards like Obstinate Baloth.
Incredible. Discard an island.
Still a lot more Magic to be played. We have a Pest Control here that does kill 1 mana permanents.
15, 17. Thank you.
So that is a nice way to just clean up the board here. I imagine Christopher is going to want to fire this off here. Still has access to Get Lost. You really don't want to play the game of Etienne just starting to pick up that Hopeless Nightmare, given that he's lost the Baloth now.
Yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but it is one you must deal with if you want to try to win the long game against this deck.
Oh, he just draws a Baloth.
He just ripped another Baloth. Nice.
That is a large blocker.
Big.
Okay. Had the opportunity to get that off the battlefield, right?
Interestingly, no land again there for Etienne. So they're forced to just play 1 card a turn for a little while.
Yeah. The nice thing, though, is that the Esper Pixie deck is fully capable of running off a very, very low land count.
Mm-hmm.
And Etienne, given what we saw previously, really good at drawing millions of lands with this deck.
Indeed.
It's so awkward now because you know there's a Hopeless Nightmare in Etienne's hand, so the Pest Control only would get the Scavenger off the battlefield, but you almost want to play it now because if the Hopeless Nightmare comes into play, all of a sudden you have a 4/5 Fear of Isolation that you have to deal with. Now, Christopher does have Get Lost for that as well, but then that's kind of it.
Christopher attacks with the Baloth. It does get through.
Oh, can actually play out the entire hand, right? So you go Pest Control, play the Cavern of Souls, and then Etienne's gonna just...
Oh, that's one way to dodge the...
Right? Yeah, to play the lands like... All right.
Aha!
Wizard.
Wizard. And Hopeless Nightmare now just becomes an over-glorified shot to the face. Ooh, dropped the Kaito.
Oops.
That's, yeah.
Just disregard.
Might want to utilize these map tokens here to find some lands.
Or no.
Or not. Keeping up some kind of two-man effect, destroy evil possibly. Or nowhere to run, making it harder to attack. Okay, destroy evil. 4 mana. Oh, great draw here.
Oh, wow.
Overlord of the Mistmore's off the top here.
You were going
Christopher.
to peel one. That's the one.
And you got the destroy evil out of Etienne's hand too.
Yes.
And you're going to block. You know about the Kaito.
Uh-huh. That might matter.
Yeah, absolutely it will matter. Now he doesn't have the mana here to get the Kaito in play, so doesn't need to worry about it here.
And to you. Zur?
That would be great.
I mean, if we're just going to call our shots.
Sure. Double Beanstalk.
Right. Chain them.
Could be a removal spell here. He knows about the Kaito.
9.
Might be some way to just get the Otter out of the battlefield.
Go.
Passing. Okay.
What is that card?
It's not a land.
Not a land. It will be forced out of hand at some point.
It could be a Ride's End.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is. Before.
That's why you're here, Paul.
Before blockers.
That's why you're here, Paul. Yes, definitely. Another scavenger.
Just to grow and deal
just
2
get
damage.
a counter and get 2 in.
Yeah, but this is not a lot of pressure. Just have to make sure you don't get Kaito'd out. Overlord of the Mistmores is just kind of a ticking time bomb here. 2 turns away from just being able to attack.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the insects are doing work.
Oh,
there's Zur.
there it is.
It was just a turn late.
Wow.
Oh,
That's
and that's
game.
for top 8 as well. That is how you peel, my friends. Right off the top of the library, bang, bang, bang. And Christopher Leonard is through to the top 8. That was some impressive top decking, if I don't say so myself.
Hey, you know what? That's kind of what it takes here. We've seen these players play well, extremely well, rather, all throughout the course of the weekend. But, you know, sometimes it just takes a little bit of luck, right? Sometimes it takes some good top decks. And, well, you know, when you play this Domain Overlords deck, when you get to the point where you're both top decking, nobody's going to top deck better than that deck.
That's true. They have the big hitters. 5 mana available will cover basically anything that you're going to draw at that point. Right. But still, you know, going Overlord of the Mistmores into removal into Zur is not the worst.
Right.
Okay, well, we've got one more to bring you this round. Another top 8 seat to be taken. We've already filled up 3 of them. We've got Matt Sperling versus James Dimitrov. Esper Pixie versus Domain Overlords. Tell me if you've heard this one before.
Yeah, once again, and you know, a lot of the members on Matt Sperling's team on Team Channel Fireball actually playing the Domain ramp deck, but Matt Sperling clearly more comfortable with this Esper Pixie strategy instead, and of course it's been working out for him here. And both players, both players on 6 here, and the Domain player on the play. And Dimitrov, or James rather, does not, has 3 copies of Obstinate Baloth in the sideboard. The game just gets so much trickier to play when your opponents just have that on the board.
Spiteful Hexmage here.
James might just have a Get Lost or something, maybe just some kind of interactive spell to just run out right away, but just deciding maybe whether or not he should just play it out right now, possibly wait.
Matt qualified via Pro Tour Performance in 2024.
Tapping for blue.
Fear of Isolation, getting in for 3. It's a big attack.
17.
This is exactly the type of aggressive start you want in this matchup. You don't want to play a late game really with this deck. Overlord of the Hauntwoods, excellent here as well from James. If you can follow that up with possibly a sweeper or even a Zur if Matt Sperling's tapped out, that can completely just change the race here.
5 and 12.
Can James get his feet under him before this damage adds up too quickly?
Matt does not have land number. This is eerily similar to the other match that we saw here. Matt doesn't
feel like that.
seem to have a third land here. There's a Storm Chaser's Talent and a Pixie in hand. So Matt's best course of action just might be to just play everything and just hope you don't have a Zur or a Sweeper, because he doesn't really have that much else he can do. He can pass, and he has a Discounting big enough in hand.
Okay.
But then are you just getting in for enough damage here to put enough pressure on James? Because if James goes Zur, you can respond, right? You can go Discounting big enough, bounce the Overlord of the Huntwoods plus your Spiteful Hexmage. That is an option you can do. But with 2 mana up, James probably doesn't go for that and might play a more defensive game here, play some removal spells, or just trying to kind of ramp and enact his game plan here. Could still have Leyline Binding here, given the Overlord of the Hauntwoods here as well, and just play it a little slower.
Damage is adding up quickly. 5 more?
Elspeth Smite, maybe?
Yeah, that's right.
Nope.
Oh, no, that's Leyline.
That's a Leyline Binding.
Yep.
And firing off this town ain't big enough on this doesn't really seem especially good, just because it's a 1 mana removal spell. I think you just kind of take the damage here and just move on. And now this is just not enough pressure. I think you just kind of have to go Storm Chaser's Talent into Pixie, if those are the cards that Matt has left over. And then just, hey, James, if you've got a Zur, you've got a Zur.
I take 1, I go to 18, make an otter.
Play the Pixie.
Cross your fingers here and hope.
Okay, this is close your eyes
Go ahead.
and hope for Matt Sperling that James Dimitrov doesn't just start firing off Zur and crashing in.
But James also has a Pest Control in hand. That's going to be good enough. You just kill everything.
There it is, Pest
Overlords
Control.
are ticking down. And I think is that an Obstinate Baloth in hand too? You just run it out?
Sure.
Yeah, and look at this. I mean, James
Oh,
is just
boy.
up so many resources at this point. A 4/4 in play, 13 life, 6 lands. How is Matt going to come back
He's
from this
not.
board?
There's no way to come back from this, right? These Overlords are going to start crashing in next turn, and his life total is just going to come crashing down.
Yeah, this is just simply not enough here.
No, he's fighting the good fight, but 2 mana, no way. He's just completely overwhelmed at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, and
A
that is
2 mana sweeper and a 4-drop
Right.
in 1 turn. Get out of here.
Yeah, that is the thing with this Domain Overlords deck. It is just able to go over the top here.
Wow.
Of these Esper
James
Pixie decks.
Dimitrov qualified via
You have 1 card?
regional championship. When asked what his goal for the season was, it was win a Pro Tour or Worlds.
What?
Yeah, even Sperling was like, make a top 8. You know, like that's my.
Or, you know, the classic, hey, I'd like to just qualify for the next event. But
Yeah,
you know
that's a
what?
good one too.
Let's
but
just win it all.
Win a Pro Tour. I mean, that is the goal, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I got to say, James looks like he's about to take a nice step in that direction.
Make an otter.
So that was a good turn. 5 damage.
Yeah. Go.
There's so many cards that just completely close the door. Zur would
Right.
do it.
Is this another?
Probably
Pest
just
Control?
a removal spell.
This is 2 mana. Up the Beanstalk. Okay.
Oh, okay, that's harmless enough. Another one.
Okay.
Somewhat harmless enough.
Once interaction.
Oh, and there that
geez.
is. How do you survive 2 pest controls?
Did you see
if
how
you're
James
playing
cast
that
that, by
deck?
the way? He's like, it's game over, right? He kind of just slammed it out there like it's just over.
He did, because he knows, and Sperling will know too. He tried to make a little comeback there, but
Sorry, yeah, 8. And then
no way.
Yeah, Sperling has no shot at this point. This is just far too much.
An overwhelming display here from James Dimitrov, capitalizing on the missed land drops from Sperling. Sperling still being able to do stuff,
Right?
but he's just falling too far behind. Now he's going to play a scavenger.
And he has a discounting big enough. Draw 2 cards.
Wow, take away
kill
your
the scavenger.
only threat. This is not quite a lethal attack, right? Like,
Yeah.
As it sits. but like a Zur would do it.
This is just inevitability, though, right?
Absolutely. I was just wondering if it was right now or next turn. But.
Yeah.
Good luck in the top
And
8.
that's going to do it. James Dimitrov into the top 8, leaving Matt Sperling to fight for his tournament life next round. Boy, I guess when you set your sights high, the top 8's the easy part. He wants to win this thing.
Oh, well, he's in really, really good shape here. That's what, the 3rd domain deck now? In the top 8, it's just kind of weird how you see all these matchups play out, and kind of the deck that you expect to be slightly favored, all kind of coming out on top. The Esper Pixie decks probably just destroying all the Gruul Mouse decks. We've seen them just really easily dispatch those decks, but then when you go up against these decks, it's just you're trying to grind them out, play that 1-for-1 game, but then, you know, all of a sudden you just play these cards that are all 2-for-1s on a stick. Then if you ever get a Beanstalk going, that's just far too much to overcome as well. And people were prepared for the Esper Pixie deck in this tournament. You saw that Pest Control just absolutely annihilate these Esper Pixie decks. And if an Esper Pixie deck makes its way into the top 8, they're going to have a really tough time through these domain decks.
Absolutely. They were prepared for that matchup, and we are seeing them populate those top 8 seats. We've got 6 of the 8 filled up now. Still 2 more to go, and a whole nother round of action to bring you as well. We're going to take a short break here from Chicago, but when we come back, we'll be getting set up for the last round of Swiss. Don't go anywhere.